2. Boom, we're live. Here, my good brother Darius,
What's going on?
podcast host. I consider you an educator, you're an innovator, you are a true leader, somebody I've known for quite some time, man. Welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm pretty good, bro. How are you feeling?
Good, man. How's your mental? How's everything? What's going on? I'm just
My,
checking in on my people, man. I'm just trying to see
uh,
how everything
my
is.
mental, I'm making it. I'm pretty good. I mean, and just in light of everything that's been going on, it's been kind of hard to just maintain a positive attitude every day. But
Mhm.
we still here, still surviving, still trying to make a way. So I've been pretty positive in that aspect of it. But I am kind of hurt that everything has just been going on.
Yeah,
So, but yeah,
yeah,
that's life. Things change, we progress, figure shit out.
yeah, for sure. When I was in the process of reaching out to you, because obviously a lot of stuff has happened in America in the past couple of weeks, and I won't consider myself blind to this issue, but as much as we try to emphasize the importance of Black Lives Mattering, I have also still noticed a shift between the Black community when it comes to sexuality. I've seen a lot of cases of Black men, in particular, heterosexual Black men, attack trans men and gay men. Rather, it is in the act of protest, rather, it's around protesting. But this was a conversation I feel like I needed to have with you because just from man to man, regardless of sexual preference, we need to have this conversation to have not only a understanding but a respect for one another and a true love because we both are Black men at the end of the day. And I know that you're not speaking for an entire community, neither am I, but I think it's important to have that conversation because growing up, I think we are raised in a very toxic uh, background when it comes to sexuality in the Black community. Not even just sexuality, just mental health, a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that gets
Our whole
closeted.
lives are completely different in a multiple different way of aspects, but that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is because we don't have these conversations. So, and I also appreciate how you said that we aren't speaking for the entire community because we aren't, because everybody's experiences are completely different. My experience has been completely different from some of my other queer friends' experience, even though we may have grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools, but all of our identities and all of our different experiences that make up who we are, those impact how we kind of go throughout our day-to-day lives and how we grow up. And even like the scientific part of our bodies that alter our brain and everything like that, like all that goes into that experience. And to say that we don't really kind of talk about that enough and kind of pay more attention to kind of how that affects people, because it truly does affect people. Like those experiences, whether it be when you were 7 years old or 14, all of those experiences shape kind of how you go through life and kind of how you have relationships with people and how you talk to people, or even if you decide to be like courageous or like go and pursue different things, just not being complacent. Like, I don't know, man. It's just we don't bring enough attention to it. So I definitely appreciate this conversation being had.
No, man, definitely. And and as I kind of just been reflecting just the past couple of years, I've been reaching out to a lot of people that I haven't talked to, and I just feel like everybody I reached out to provides me some sort of insight on an issue that I feel like is important. I think it's very ignorant for me to speak on a issue without having somebody represent that aspect to provide a perspective. Because again, you're not speaking for a entire community. I'm not speaking for entire community, but it is an issue that I have noticed for a long period of time, and while it may not personally affect me on a day to day, that I have true love for you, man. I want you all to be safe as well. I want all Black people to be safe. In that, we have to have that conversation that I feel like is rather ignorant for us to not have it and not ask questions. 'Cause I don't know everything. I
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
I think that is something that we get on white people about when it comes to Black history and all the other events, but we as Black people don't hold ourselves
We
accountable
have
when
to
it comes
hold
to
everybody accountable. White
uh,
people, black men, black women, black queer men. Because even as a black queer man, I still have to acknowledge the privilege that I have as a man when I'm talking to either a black woman or a black trans woman or a black trans man. I have to acknowledge the experience that I went through is completely different than the experience that they went through. And in certain circumstances, they are oppressed more than I am. So I do have to always have a kind of a mental, like a kind of something in the back of my mind that's always kind of thinking about that, but not thinking about that at the same time, because in the end of the day, we're all equal individuals. We're all people. We should all be treated the same way.
Right.
It's just that history and societal norms and oppression has made people more devalued than what they actually are worth, because we're all worth gold. We're all worth the same. But
Absolutely.
all of that has made people and belittle people and put people in higher positions that they don't need to be in.
Hmm.
Um, that makes people feel that way and makes everybody else treat people that way, because it's not just, I don't think it's something that we can all personally feel like, yeah, once you realize that you are behaving this way or thinking, having these certain thoughts, then yeah, definitely try to change it. But as a society, people have been conditioned to think this way about certain groups. And as us being educators and learning and encouraging other people to just learn more about history, we have to restructure those narratives and restructure what those norms mean so that people can go through life and not feel judged or not feel that they're being belittled because of their identity or how they look.
No, definitely. And I was doing some research, man. Even before I read your blog that we're going to get into in just a second, which I feel like is going to be very powerful. Going back to ancient times, and I think you referenced this. I think in your first blog, uh, same-sex practices was very big,
Yeah.
especially African culture. Even be honest with you. And it's really interesting how much that has changed as far as what is viewed as acceptable. I did have a question for you. I just want your honest opinion on this. When they say that straight black men are the white men of our race, what exactly does that mean?
So if you think about how white men engage with, react to, kind of communicate with our work, like our work employees next to, think about how they interact with people who are not other white men, black women, white
Oh,
women, black men,
yeah,
Asian men, Hispanics, Latinos, anybody else other than a white man. You notice a divide in the way that they interact with others.
right.
And you notice a certain disrespect that always comes from white men. Countless times we've seen in history, in news, in person, like through lived experiences, the disrespect that white men have towards other people who are not white men, and not just blatant disrespect, but structural disrespect. Like,
Right,
why are white men paid the highest above everybody else? Why are white men, essentially, they have, in the quote unquote good aspects, higher percentage rates of a lot of other things
right.
other than other minorities or other people who aren't white men.
Yeah.
So when you consider the black community, black men don't consider black women. And I'm not saying all of them,
No, no,
but a
I'm
majority
listening.
of
I'm listening.
black men, they have that same mindset because they, just like white men, are not acknowledging their privilege. They're not acknowledging the power that they hold walking through society, because they have not had to, well, in certain circumstances,
Mhm.
but on an everyday basis, even now, they have not had to be belittled because of who they are or kind of what they look like in the
Yeah.
community. So they don't understand these experiences, but they're also not trying to
Learn.
learn. They're
Right.
not trying to learn about these experiences. They're not trying to hear people out and hear their stories and be compassionate and have empathy. And that's what you see in a lot of white men, which a lot of people in general are upset at the white man for.
Mm.
I've heard multiple times that the white man is probably the least favorite man right now, which is funny considering not even 50 years ago, they were probably the most popular person on this earth.
Right.
So, and that's kind of how black men think. They think that they're better than black women. They think that they're better than black queer individuals, and it's not that way. And we
Mhm.
see it. We not only see it, but we live it, and
Right.
we experience the disrespect, and we experience the ignorance that we have in people who look just like us, and people who we are fighting for every day, not just during protests or when huge deaths happen across the country, but every single day as we go into work, as we have families and are trying to build generations, and as we are trying to just live and love other people, we can't even love other races and generations of people because we're so busy trying to fight the black men who are in the same age group and same generation as us.
Mm. Okay, let me take it a step further. Okay, I'm listening. You're 100% valid on that. What is it that straight black men do? And I'm asking for your opinion again on both these areas. When it comes to women, what is something that we do that's a major problem? And then taking it further to the queer perspective, what is something that we do that is extremely toxic?
So when I think of comparing black men and black women, we're not comparing them, but thinking of
Right.
that experience, I had read somewhere or I had seen a quote that so when back in history when white people were oppressing black people and it was blatant, it was everywhere. The reason, well, not the reason, but one of the reasons was because they thought that we were dumb. They thought that we were dumb. They thought that we didn't feel anything because they thought that we were animals. And I think
Right.
that that's how a lot of black men see women. They don't think that they're actually smart when a lot of times these women, especially these black women, are running down their everything, not just
Facts.
education, but engineering, like mechanics, like literally everything. Black women are there, and if they're not on the forefront, they're in the background somewhere throwing some ideas out there, like making some change happen.
Mm.
So one, well, black men, I don't think that they think that women are as smart as they are, and women are geniuses. In my opinion, they're smarter than men, and that's me saying that as a black man. Like I think that women are a lot smarter than me. I've seen it throughout growing up. I've seen girls and black women specifically go a lot harder than black men, regardless of what they're doing.
Yeah.
They go a lot harder for people. But yeah, I don't think that they think they're as smart as they are, and I don't think that they feel as much pain as they do. Like I think that men have to perform, or that society has made us feel like we have to perform to a certain level of masculinity that you tend to think that things don't really affect you when you really do. And that's why a lot of men in general harbor a lot of trauma because they aren't trying to process it because they don't think that what they went through affected them when that's not the case. Like all of
That's very
us
true.
may need some level of therapy. Like you need to expose what experiences you've been through.
Hmm.
Like really get into your emotions and understand how you feel and what you're thinking. But
Yeah.
I don't think enough black men do that. So they don't feel or understand that what they may be going through may be worse for black women. So
No,
they treat it
I,
because they don't have that mental capacity to think like, oh shit, this actually is a bad thing to do to people. Like,
yeah.
why are you throwing people against their will while they're crying into the pool or tossing them in a dumpster or smacking them with tables? Like that shit doesn't make sense. Like it shouldn't happen.
No, I agree. And I'm gonna let you get to your second point. I just want to just throw in a idea or a perspective. Um,
I forgot what the second point was.
the second part was just how do we affect also the LGBTQ community as well. But I will say this: I do agree wholeheartedly with what you said. It makes sense. I do think that we animalize women in a way, like we don't really look at women in a way that we should. Oftentimes we say that, black women got bad attitudes, they this, they opinionated, they do this, that, and the third. And I think that is something that has been, I think, relatively taught to most of us growing up.
I
And
agree.
I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking more so for what I've at least seen, what I've heard, conversation I've had. Most of us have grown up in spaces where we're not supposed to view women to a certain level. Women should put us on a pedestal, and they should do these things for us. And when a woman starts speaking too much, she needs to, we need to get rid of her. All these different things.
Yeah, all of that, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's an aspect that I think that most men struggle with. It's an ego thing. It's an ego thing of a lot of women are pretty much more intelligent than us. They're probably gonna work harder than us in certain aspects. They're gonna definitely support us more than we support them. I've always said that. But I also think that as far as trauma, that stuff is real, but it also goes back to how most men were raised. Most men were raised to be strong and emotionless and be logical and be rational and not necessarily show emotions because emotions is a sign of weakness, usually. But and also to be honest, a lot of guys I think they do things based off what they see women like.
Yeah.
So it one is and this is just an opinion.
And
Sometimes
I like that you say that because I was actually just thinking that the same way that men are raised to behave their way and to act their way with women, women are raised that way as well, regardless if it's right or wrong.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times that they're not their mothers, but like that mother aspect or the older women generation, like they were raised to react to the man and to cater to the man and all of that, and it's not fair. Like everybody
No,
should be
right.
able to do what they want to do that makes them happy. Like women should be able to go to work as much as men do. They should be able to get paid as much as men do. They should be able to stay home and kick it just as much as men do and not be judged by it.
Right. No,
But I
that's
think
true.
that women also have been raised to belittle themselves for men, and
Yeah.
this is why it's so important to empower women and to show support to women and not belittle them and not disrespect them and disregard their emotions and their experiences because they are also just like men have to do trying to process what they've been through and trying to make sense of it and trying to figure out a way how to articulate it to others so
Yeah.
that they can speak their truths and speak
Hmm.
in their lived experiences and feel valued. And I think that women are probably stronger than men because they've been able to kind of battle all of these blocks and works and like throughout life, but still have been able to be resilient and overpower the man in a lot of cases.
No, I agree. I hate that it's such a divide, man. I really do. It really bothers me. That we even have to. I won't say have to have these conversations, but these conversations are had. It's really it's a divide of who is supposed to be the top dog. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are struggling with, having women lead. Some women, man, just that much better than when it comes to leading certain things that I just think it's okay to just sit back and support, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is something that I think that a lot of straight men have to address. And that again, that
It's
stems
that
from
ego thing, like you said.
yeah, it's 98% ego. It's all ego. We all struggle with ego. That's something that it doesn't matter what it is. It could be sports, it could be sex, it can be career. A lot of us as guys, we want to show that we are a alpha type of person based off of the external things that we present. So whether it's a car, it's a job, like that's why. And this is just again, this is my opinion. I have a hard time when people, like you start dating somebody and they start asking like, well, what do you do and what is this like
Yeah.
that type of stuff
Trying to do
kind of
that comparison between like how much you're getting paid or how much you
yeah,
spend on this. Yeah.
yeah, that
I
type
do
of
the same thing
yeah,
sometimes, just naturally because I'm just so used to having that conversation. I'm used to
right.
people asking it. So I've tried to cut down on
That
that.
type of stuff makes it tough because like when a guy doesn't fit certain boxes, again, and I'm just speaking off of one angle, like a lot of stuff that straight men do, they try to cater to the woman's perspective for what they would desire. So you hear a woman say, I want a man to make fast money, like dudes are gonna start hopping off and trying to do whatever they gotta do to impress that woman. And I feel like it's on the same on both sides, but we're just speaking from my perspective, is just you're trying to fit a box of what that woman will want. And that's why I say a lot of the stuff is ego, is to show and to to impress. Um, but there's still another issue when it comes to the LGBTQ community when it comes to straight men. And I would want to get your thoughts on what is it that we can do to support, what is it that we can do to have these conversations move forward. 'Cause I don't want it to just be me. I think we all need to have this conversation of the experiences that you all may have that we just don't understand. 'Cause I'm pretty sure that you've had that moment where you were trying to battle presenting who you really were, but also being around a whole bunch of straight men who may judge you as well. What is it that we can do to help make this a very loving and comfortable process moving
Check your
forward?
ego. I think that that's first and foremost. I think I like that you had brought it up earlier because it's probably the most perfect way to say that. But check your ego, and it's the same way that it goes towards Black women and other women of color, or even just women in general. But Black men tend to belittle queer individuals because they think that because the queer aspect is generally geared towards people who like the same sex, they
Right.
think you're less masculine and that you're more feminine. So
Hmm.
in society, the more feminine you are equals the more weaker you are,
Right.
which isn't reality. Like, and we see that in circumstances with women who are more powerful than men, or how queer individuals are leading a lot of revolutions and huge movements throughout history, and men are going to work and paying the bills and not investing as much into the family household and
Yeah.
their partner and their family and everything. So I think that when it comes to Black men and kind of how they view queer individuals, they do the same thing. They disregard a lot of our experiences and a lot of times our existence, and just kind of brush it up under the rug like it's something that you shouldn't talk about. Like it's really
Right.
like, and that's reality. Like in a household, the queer topic in general, regardless of what it is something that shouldn't be talked about in the household, especially in the Black household. I'm not sure because I'm not white. I don't know how the white household is, but
Yeah.
I mean, but it's the same thing that's kind of been progressing slowly throughout history, but it's still in a lot of households something that you shouldn't talk about and something that shouldn't be encouraging. Even in the school systems, they don't talk about
Mm.
queer communities or what queer individuals experience or like sex ed. Like it's oftentimes and most times geared towards heterosexual couples when a lot of our community are queer individuals, but they may not be out or they may not
Right.
be in a space to talk to their profession, the doctors
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
them being queer and
Hmm.
everything like that. So you don't know who is out there, but it's a lot of the community who have this representation that people are just brushing to the side and not talking about. Like it's a lot of people, a lot of queer individuals who are going missing and dying in the news that aren't being talked about enough. These cases aren't being solved and they are not arresting these murderers because they think that it's funny. And
Right.
it's not fucking funny. It's not a joke. People are dying the same way that Black men are dying, the same way that Black women are dying. Black queer individuals are dying as well, but they're erasing our existence, making these people's bodies and lives feel less valued than what they truly are. And you see that on a more minuscule scale on a day-to-day basis. Like in households, you may go through microaggressions that your family may or may not be aware of. That's
Hmm.
just disrespecting your identity. And if they know that you're queer, they may do it on purpose or they may do it on accident. And if they don't know, that kind of makes it even worse because then they're probably constantly saying it because they're in the habit of doing that. When you're with your
Mm.
friends, like you said earlier, when I was in high school, I surrounded myself with around a bunch of straight guys because I didn't have that conversation.
Right.
I wasn't out of the closet or I didn't tell many people about my queer identity. So one, I didn't know who else was queer around me.
Right.
If you don't say it, then you won't know who else knows it or who else is
No,
going
that's
through the
true.
same thing. But I also didn't say it because it wasn't something that people celebrated or that people encouraged. Like I'm pretty sure if I would have came out of high school, I probably would have been ridiculed. I probably would have still came out on top because I'm a bad bitch. But um I mean, like, and I
That's
felt like I was getting
yeah.
through the best that I could. Like, I was still trying to figure myself out and figure out my sexuality and my identity, and still try to come and be a student and be a friend and be a family member. Like, I'm going through all of this while also trying to figure out a huge part of myself.
Right.
Uh, but like, if I would have said something to somebody who was straight that was a Black man in high school, like I said, I probably would have been ridiculed. I probably would have been bullied.
Yeah.
I probably would have been shamed for who knows what. But that's how a lot of people think, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that way. We like again with Black women and women in general, we should empower everybody and make everybody feel valued in who they are and what they do.
No, I agree, man. And even I'm thinking about all the stuff that, um, I might have said in high school. You don't really recognize what you're doing until you end up meeting people that you care about.
Yeah. And I'm
Um,
sure I've even probably said something that disrespected the queer community because I was probably having some internalized homophobia. I was trying to repress what I was feeling and who I was. So I was spewing negative information or spewing negative thoughts about this community. And I actually think that there was a queer boy that was out in high school that for some reason I had some negative energy or something towards him, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, why did this man affect me so much? And it wasn't because I wanted to be like him, but
Right.
I wanted to be as free as him, but I just did not know that. So,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it goes with not not knowing these people or not hearing about these experiences and not having these conversations. So, like,
No,
you
definitely.
really have to express how you feel with people, and people have to be more open and understanding of everyone else's experiences.
Yeah, no, I 110% agree. You just it's really just crazy like how much you don't actually know until you kind of hear from it and hear from people experiences. And I know everybody experiences is different, man. But I was really just struck on what I have been seeing uh and just in the world, man. We got people out here that are, basically just want to have their voices heard and just say that lives matter. But then there's still a divide, as I said, between us, between men and women. Um, Again, gay and straight. It's really crazy because the overall purpose of this cause is to express the importance of our lives matter, and still we're having these internal issues of deciding who lives matter the most. Like it's
It
it's
is
it's
crazy.
it
It's
is it
crazy that
is
as
it's
we
wild.
are having a international revolution and revolt trying to protect and shout peaceful messages about Black lives, we also have a huge part of that community, the Black community, Black men. Right now, like this didn't happen 3 years ago. Like this is happening right now, disrespecting and murdering Black women and Black queer and trans individuals. Like
Yeah.
recording it, like at that, like you have the audacity to record this shit.
Hmm.
And it's
It's
messed up.
crazy.
It's messed up, man. It really is. And just with everything else, I hope that there's some change in this, and I hope that people actually start to do more things like this and have these conversations and try to understand not just the perspectives of different individuals, but the experiences and where they're coming from and kind of the shoes that they walked in. Like,
Mhm.
actually realize that.
Yeah. No, and again, man, I really appreciate you just sharing all that stuff because there's so much, like I said, that I continue to have to learn. Because I have to be mindful of the fact that, one day I want kids too, right? This is always a possibility. And instead of coming into it, because I think of all the ignorant stuff that I've heard and said, and just heard from other people of like, if my child came to me and they expressed to me their sexuality, what would I do? Like we used to make games out of that type of stuff, bro. Like, if you had $1 million, what would you do? If your son was like that type of stuff. You don't realize at that age that, it's very toxic.
Yeah.
But it still shouldn't happen. But now that you learn about it, you know not to do it moving forward. Um, but I wanted to ask you about your blog. That's the main reason why we're here today. Talk to me about your blog, man. Talk to me about the purpose of it, and what is the overall goal with that?
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the overall goal. And really, the overall goal right now, just really to keep it simple, is just to provide a space for people to share their truths and just have an outlet to push out that, like I said, that negative trauma or those feelings that they've been harboring for so long about a part of their identity that they have had to shut out to society, to the community, and even to themselves.
Yeah.
So the Closet Unlocked is right now a blog. It's on Medium, but it's a platform for Black queer individuals to be able to share their in the closet moments and kind of what those experiences looked like and felt like for them, and how they were able to overcome it, and the different experiences that they've went through, not just negative that may have impacted them, but also moments that they have found some strength within themselves or that they feel have been able to make a positive impact on their lives now. So what it really is just going to be a bunch of different anonymous stories. So each week, an anonymous post is going to drop with a story of a lived experience of kind of what a Black queer individual may have experienced while they were in the closet, whether that be from their family, friends, school, workplace. And it doesn't have to just be childhood, because a lot of older adults have in the closet moments as well, and
Right.
some people have not fully come out or had that coming out moment. So it's just a space for people to be able to kind of put that out there to the world, not just for them to be able to have a deep breath, but for others to be able to see these experiences so that someone else who may be 10 years old, who may be going through like something like this, they don't feel so alone and they don't feel like they're the only ones going through this in life. Like there are actual other people who may have had similar experiences as you and they've been able to overcome it and do great things. So just to be able to provide more community aspects to the queer community, because just like the Black community, the queer community is a little bit divided as well. So just trying to give everybody that sense of belonging and sense of comfort and love.
That's beautiful, man. For those who don't know, Medium is a great platform. You do got to pay that five though, five a month.
You
But
do what? You get what, one or two stories a day for free?
um,
I think you might get one for free
I
a day.
think maybe one for free. I don't know.
It's okay. You only need to read one amount a day and then come back the next day and another one.
Yeah, no, Medium. I've been on Medium for a couple months now. It's Medium is interesting because it lets you know how many people write. Like it's a lot of people that write.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I was like, it's a lot of people that write. I think it's good though, just to see where you're at versus other people, and everybody talks about so many different stuff, and it can you can easily get lost in that just because you're just trying to write a blog. But I think when you get in that type of stuff, the overall goal is to be known. You know what I mean? But it takes time though, man. But I'm
Yeah.
really appreciative of you, creating a platform for that, and I appreciate you joining today. But I do know you also have a podcast yourself. You know what I
I
mean? Talk to me about Dab of Life.
So this one is a little more personal. Well, I guess they both are pretty personal
Yeah.
and close to me. But A Dab of Life is a podcast that I co-host with my friend Abriana.
Mhm.
So if you go to our socials on Twitter is Dab of Life Pod, DAB Pod POD, and on Instagram is dab dot of life podcast.
Mhm.
Pretty much what it is us talking about different experiences that we've had in life, giving the people a dab of our lives, kind of a
Yeah.
little catch slogan. um, but yeah, it's really just us talking about our lived experiences and kind of what that has meant for us. So our fourth episode just dropped today.
Congrats.
Um, it's called Bringing on the Change, I think. So it's part of our two-part series about talking about how change has affected our lives. So the first one was in the past, and then this one we try to talk about kind of what future change looked like and manifesting that change looked
Yeah.
like for us in our lives. So check that out. It's available on the Anchor platform, but you can also check it out on all other platforms: Apple
Yeah.
Podcasts,
Mhm.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just us trying to relate more to the people, just to give everybody else another insight of our experiences that other people may have went through as well. They'd be like,
Oh
oh
man.
yeah, like I was going through that, and what you just said actually matched my situation. So I mess with you.
Yeah. That's good, man. I'm always glad to see people do this type of stuff, man. Podcasting is real fun.
It is.
There's a wall everybody hits. And I think the hard part is, people want to, come out the gate and they think the numbers are gonna come up. And you find out, man, it's actually real humbling, man. You find out like you're not as important as you are as you think right away. But as long as the intention is there, man, it'll all make sense in the long run, man. Well, my brother, I appreciate you joining today.
I appreciate you.
Uh, I appreciate this conversation. People, like it. I would love to have more people join and share their experiences. I want to keep this going. This is something that really means a lot to me because I just want to learn a lot more. Just for the simple fact it needs to happen. And I think we have to quit. You got to quit having the Twitter finger syndrome. Is that
Yeah.
people always complain about different things going on and just do it,
Nobody
man.
actually want to have a conversation.
Yeah, man. I was just like, I'm in a house. I'm like, I'm about to just start DMing people, and we gonna we gonna see if people get on or not. Because I'm big on conversations. I don't care if it's 20 minutes, 5 minutes. I can just learn something, man, just to help.
Conversation is the best way to understand something. You could read all about it in a book as long as you want to and
Yeah.
see PowerPoints, but truly having a conversation with somebody about it will really help you understand it,
Yeah,
regardless
man.
of what it is.
Yes. So, my brother, I appreciate you joining. Hope you staying safe and well out there, man. The barbershops is kind of hard out here, so keep it as fresh as you can. Um, but no, bro, you stay safe. All right.
You too, bro.
All right. All right. So